There we go. We're live. How do we feel? Are we ready?
How do we
Heads?
feel?
What do you mean, how do we feel? Just do the
Smiles
intro.
There we go.
What a superstar.
Welcome along to the Top Corner Podcast, episode number 30. It's always a bad start, Kieran. Let's be real. It's always a proper, put together start. But welcome to the podcast. We're at episode number 33. We've got 2 more weeks left. By the way, I'm just going to give you guys so before we start, if my mic or camera goes, I do apologise because it keeps disconnecting quite a bit recently. So if I do vanish, then the show is yours. Take it away while I try and get it back. But that's it. I'm putting you in the role, guys. You could do whatever you want. You could talk whatever you feel like, which is probably a bad decision. But we've got 2 more weeks left of the podcast. Plenty to talk about in Europe. How are we all today? Are we all good?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shit day.
Good.
It's murky outside.
It's terrible weather for July, isn't it? I mean, usually by now it's quite warm, and he's got the jacket on, hood up. Ronaldo's in the stream. He's already in. He says, "Morning, all."
Morning.
Right, Ronaldo,
Good morning to you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, he's 3 o'clock for us, isn't it?
Ronaldo, what time is it for you?
Yeah, tell us what time it is.
6 hours back, so I'm going to
I'm going to go with 10 a.m.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make a guess because I have no idea.
I'm going to go 4 minutes past 9.
There we go. We're playing together. Start off here.
Well, maybe when he puts the message in, so I'm going to say 5 past 9.
We'll find out what time it currently is in his area. But we've got plenty to go through today. We've got a lot to talk about in the Europe's top 5 leagues. Of course, there's a couple of those leagues that have finished. We're going to be talking about the Premier League today, the race for the top 4. Some certain fans that sat here right now might not want to talk about their clubs after a disappointing result against Southampton. Chelsea last night, they also picked up an important 3 points. And I know, Kieran, we're slightly nervous. I was going to talk about something else, but we're not talking about that today. There's a very specific thing.
What have I missed? I've missed
nothing.
I'm a big Chelsea fan. And I just wasn't really impressed with the performance last night against Norwich. It really got...
Not going to call you a prick, but you're a prick.
At least you picked up the win.
For any regulars in the stream that usually come every week, there's a specific subject you might have seen we're not talking about today. That is banned. We don't want to hear any words of a specific manager, player, team. We're banned today. We're not going to talk about it.
We're banning the word Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
10 a.m. for Bernaldo.
No, in the word I would hate to be the topic not to talk about. I would hate it. So you get the gift. Let's move on.
There we go. We'll move on. So we're going to talk about the Premier League, as I said. Very true. The race for the top 4. We're also going to talk about a lot of stuff to do in Serie A. The race for Europe is still very pressurising in there. But most importantly as well, it is the final week in La Liga. So we're going to talk about that. Real Madrid potentially getting the title tomorrow night. And it's still very, very tight in there. Bernardo's put, let's not talk about that game.
Thank you, Bernardo.
And Chris Welch did stream says, all right, lads, hope you're all well. Welcome in.
I mean, to be fair, Kieran, Bernardo does spot Spurs, so you have a lot of ammo to go away.
I was never a fan of Bernardo's team. He's a great guy. He's never been disrespectful to me unless he mentions it, and then I'll.
Yeah, so I'm saying that if he did, you'd have a lot of ammunition because he's a Spurs.
Yeah, definitely. They had a good result though, beating Arsenal.
That's the thing. The power is in chat hands right now because I can't see. Nobody else in here can see the chat. I can only see everything that there's points. The power is in their hands. They could sit there and absolutely great. Josh,
let me stop you, please. You sound like C3PO.
He's still going.
He's still going. Look at him.
He's still going.
Honestly, a warrior.
Look at that smile.
He's a warrior.
Smile.
He's still going.
Well, he said if anything goes wrong, we get
He's still going. He's still going as well. Terminator Josh.
I mean, we have got a big podcast for everyone today. If you didn't hear, we're talking about La Liga. We're talking about Serie A. Obviously, they're coming to the La Liga has come to the culmination of the stage. Josh is back.
Terminator Josh.
I'd like to take a quick moment here to say that it's very, very likely that not only my camera and that will go, that my Wi-Fi will go as well. We've had a lot of problems with a certain company called Virgin Media. If you live in America, Bernaldo, you might have heard of them. Yeah, they're not good at all.
We can't actually end the stream, seeing as none of us are on the don't think so. If your Wi-Fi goes, we're just going to be
No.
sat here for a while. We're sat here for ages, just like, well,
just twiddling your thumbs.
we're just
But
gonna be
yeah,
waiting
no,
for
my
our internet to
internet's
come
been bad. My internet's been quite bad. It's been we had a lot of like disconnection problems yesterday. So if I do go, I'll try and stick the PowerPoint up maybe, and we'll try and just get it sorted. But I'm going to plod along as much as I can. If I do disconnect at some point, then somebody try and do something with
Just
this
send us.
podcast.
Just send
We're
one of us
5
a
minutes in and it's so scuffed already. But
Yeah.
we haven't done a quiz in a long time.
lot.
And I think it's time to do a little quiz now. Fernando's just not going to have to face Simon. Oh. So we're going to have a little bit of a quiz. Now, we hadn't had one for a long, long time. And hopefully you could still hear me, or else this is just going to be an absolute...
No, we can hear you. You're all right.
Now, I've got 5 questions. I'm going to test your knowledge on European football this season. It's a short one. You won't need pen or paper for this one. You can probably do it off the top of your head. It's a very, very quick quiz. Of course, if you want to play along in the chat, whether you're listening on Facebook, even if this does make it onto Facebook, which at this rate it probably won't after that awful first 5 minutes. Who knows? But we're going to start straight away with question number 1. The first question I'm going to ask you, which club in the top 5 leagues is the highest scoring club in Europe this season?
Atalanta.
Now, I'll let you guys all pick. And of course, whoever gets the right answer will get a point. So Kieran says Atalanta. Rowan with his hand up.
Atalanta.
Atalanta, Kieran D.
Atalanta.
The correct answer, none of you get any points. Kieran, you should have said the certain club that Leroy Sané's gone to. It's Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich this season have scored 100 goals.
They're
the most in the top 5 leagues, which is absolutely unbelievable. Which is Atalanta are actually second, by the way, so you weren't too far off in that one.
I was thinking PSG, but obviously I was nowhere near.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. So no points on the board there. We can make sure there's no points. Question number 2. Which club in the top 5 leagues has the lowest points tally of any team in the top 5 leagues of Europe this season? So which team has the lowest amount of points in the top 5 leagues this season? A point for whoever gets correct. Of course, if you are playing along at home, put it in the chat. You've got plenty of time because there's
Norwich.
5 options. So he's going for Norwich.
Paderborn.
Whoa!
Rowan's going for Paderborn.
I swear Paderborn got 121.
I know the team that's bottom of Liga, but I don't know it, so I'm going to go with.
I think it's Dijon. I think it's Dijon at bottom of Liga.
Dijon, there we go. Dijon.
The correct answer. Bernardo's got it spot on. If you'd have said Toulouse, you'd have been absolutely spot on. Of course, Liga teams haven't properly played all of their games this season, but they're still technically with the lowest amount of points. I'll give a point here for the person who could predict the points that they've got.
I'm sorry, but KD ruined it. He said Dijon were bottom, so I went with Dijon.
Well, I'm not being funny here, but I don't go out to lose, so thank you very much.
But yeah, I'll give a point here. If you can predict the amount of points they've got this season, I'll give a point to
10.
someone.
No.
So Kieran D's going.
No, I'm not going 10.
What's he going
15 KD.
15.
I'll go with 19.
19, Kieran now. Rowan?
13.
13?
Rowan's absolutely spot on. 13 points this season Toulouse have got. That is the lowest out of any club in the top 5 leagues. And in fact, I think the next lowest is actually Paderborn, I think. So they're quite far away from them. So 13 points for Toulouse. Rowan has the first point on the board. Now, the next question, this is question number 3.
Thank you.
Bernardo, by the way, predicted 36 points. A little bit too much on that
Norwich are already on 21.
A little bit too much. Right, so for this next one, question 3 and number 4, it's about top scorers and assisters. So question number 3, I want you to name the current top 5 scorers in Europe for the Golden Shoe Award. The list is as of today. I will give a point for every single one you get correct. So Kieran D, I want you to pick 5 of them out, name them, and I'll give you points for each one. So you said Lewandowski for your first one.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy.
Yep, that's 2. I'm not saying that as in yes, that's 2, as in you've got 2 points, just as in yes, that's 2, so you've got
2. Ben Yedder.
Okay. 2 more to predict.
Let's going to be someone from like the A League or something. I'm trying to think.
It's the top 5 leagues in
Ronaldo.
Europe, by the way.
Ronaldo and Messi.
So there we go. So that's your 5 predicted. There we go. Right, Kyle, predict your 5.
Lewandowski, Messi, Immobile.
Yeah, shit.
There are 2 more left.
I know. I'm trying to think. Liga didn't finish, but I'm trying to think if someone was by far. I'll go with Cavani. I don't know if he's the top goal scorer for them, but I'll go with Cavani, and I'll put Ronaldo in as well.
There we go. So there are 5 predicted by Kale, and Rowan predicts your 5.
Lewandowski, Vardy, Immobile, Messi, and Mbappe.
There we go. Right. So you've predicted your 5. Just looking at the comments below, see who else everybody's predicted. So Bernardo's predicted Alba, Vardy, Lewandowski, Lautaro Martinez, and Ronaldo. Will's put Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski, Immobile, and Vardy. So the top 5 list. This is an interesting one, by the way. Number 1 is Robert Lewandowski with 34 goals this season. Now, this is, by the way, based on the Golden Shoe list. It was updated this morning. Number 2 was Ciro Immobile, 29 goals for Lazio this season. So points on the board there. Number 3, Cristiano Ronaldo, 28 goals this season. Number 4, Timo Werner, 28 goals.
Wow.
For some reason, I had in my head there was just 1 from every league.
Why are we all so wet?
And number 5, now you'll be a bit confused as to why he's number 5 here. Erling Haaland, 29 goals. Now, the way that the Golden Shoe Award works is that there is a points tally for players in smaller domestic leagues and a points tally for when they're in the big leagues. So Haaland's goals at Salzburg counts for 1.5 points. And his goals for Dortmund count as 2 points. So he's got 29 goals, but he has less points than Timo Werner. So he's 5th on the list with 29. So I don't think people would have expected that one because a lot of his goals were in the Austrian Bundesliga, of course. So Kieran D, you got 2 points there. Kieran L, you got 3 points.
What a wet
and Rowan, you got 2 points. So not too bad there. We're now going to move on to the top 5 assisters. So once again, it's the top 5 assisters in the 5 main European leagues. I'm going to ask for your 5 names. We'll start off. We'll go opposite ways this time. Go on, Rowan. I'll let you start.
Muller, Messi.
3 more to go.
I know this is wrong. KDB.
2 more left.
Santi Cazorla.
And 1 more.
Syria. What the Pjanic? We'll go Quadrado.
There we go. That's all right. So there's Rowan's 5 predicted. KL.
Messi. Christopher Nkunku.
Wait, no, did it? I'm a dickhead.
Shush your face. You don't get it.
No, I think
I'm off now.
So that was Nkunku you predicted and Messi for your first 2.
Yeah, Luis Alberto, KDB, and for the last one, I will go with Neymar.
There we go. So there are the 5 predicted by Kale. Of course, if you're playing along at home, put yours in the chat. Kieran D, predict your 5.
Messi, De Bruyne, Muller, Sancho, Di Maria.
There we go. So there's
Josh,
the 5
did I say Muller? I had Muller in my head the entire time. All right, thank God. That's when you said Nkunku, I was like, wait, shit, did I say Muller?
I think you straight away went Messi, Muller, and then you went into your other ones. So there we go. Everybody's predicted their 5. I'm now going to go through them. So first and top, of course, is Lionel Messi with 21 assists this season in La Liga. In fact, quite recently just broke the record to become the 2nd player in the top 5 leagues to score 20 goals and 20 assists as well. So well done to Messi there. Number 2, Thomas Muller, 21 assists. Good for him this season, of course. He's just broke the record as well for the most assists in the Bundesliga, beating Kevin De Bruyne's 20 assists back at Wolfsburg. Number 3, Kevin De Bruyne, 18 assists this season for Manchester City. Number 4, Jadon Sancho, 18 assists.
Yes, lads.
I'm surprised you didn't get that because I did bang on a lot about maybe Sancho becoming one of the other players to get 20 goals and 20 assists this season. And then the last one, which I don't think it's not surprised that any of you didn't get this.
We all know it is fine.
Is it Bruno Fernandes?
It's Papu Gomez of Atalanta.
Bastard.
He's been racking in the assists this season.
Alejandro Gomez.
For Atalanta. So, Kieran D, you got 4. Very good there. Well done. KL, you got 2, and Rowan, you got 3. So picking up the points there. We're now going to move on to the last question, question number 5. So this is a good chance for you to pick up some last points. And the final question is: there's only one club in the top 5 leagues of Europe this season to have had 3 players that have scored more than 15 goals for their club. They broke a record this season. It's the first time that there's been 3 scorers at a club in this league since the 1951-1952 season. But what club has 3 goal scorers with over 15 goals? So just to repeat the question one more time, there's one club in the top 5 leagues of Europe that has 3 players this season that have scored more than 15 goals. It's the first time this record's been broken since 1951/52 season. But which club is it?
Any European league.
It's just the 5 main leagues of Europe.
It's not Slavia Prague, sorry.
It's a tough one, this one. I let KD go first.
I want to say what I think, but I don't think it's right.
It's a tough one.
I want to say what I think, but I don't think it's right because surely not. It's not Man United, is it? I'll go for Man United. I don't think
You're
it is.
Gonna go
I'm going to go for my guess as that.
Man United.
It can't be.
Kieran L, what are you going for?
I'm going with Manchester City.
Manchester City. And Rowan?
I've got 3 in my head. Crap. I'll go with the name that first came to my head, Bayern.
The correct answer...
United. Munich.
Munich, that's all right. We'll go Munich. But I'll put Bayern Munich. The correct answer is Atalanta. This season,
it was my other team,
and I cannot believe none of you went for it. It was broke last week. Atalanta. Luis Muriel has scored 17 goals this season. He's the top scorer for them now, which is quite interesting. Duvan Zapata has scored 16 goals this season, while Josip Ilicic has scored 15. They broke that record last week. First time that's been done since 1951/52 in Serie A. So no one gets any points on the board, which means at the end of it.
Sorry, my 3 teams were Bayern, and then it was Atalanta and Lazio. But I was like, Lazio, I could only think of Immobile, and then with Atalanta, I could only think of Zapata. I just couldn't think of other ones.
It's a tight one. I tell you what, I know somebody said Luis Alberto earlier on for the assist one. He only just got picked out because of Papu Gomez getting an assist, I think, in their last game. So you would have been right on that one if it was a couple more days ago. We're on a tiebreaker. KL, you finished with 5 points, which means KD and Rowan, you've both got 6. We've got to go to a tiebreaker.
Well, how is Rowan on a tiebreaker? What a way.
Now, Rowan only just got it because he predicted the right amount of points for Toulouse to get the point.
But if I get the tiebreaker right, I draw level.
The tiebreaker I'm going to go for then is I want you to guess. We've talked about Atalanta a lot today. I want you to now guess how many goals they've scored this season. Closest to it is going to get.
I think I know relatively close anyway, but
can I go
the
first?
winning point.
Actually, no, let Rowan go first because he don't know. Go on, Rowan.
No, why do I have to go first?
I'll go first.
So you've had little hints around the board throughout these questions on how many goals Atalanta might have scored this season. Closest to it is going to get the win.
82.
KD is going for 82. Rowan.
83.
So that's
right.
move.
No,
can I guess 90? Just
wait.
for fun.
No, I won't be such a scumbag. Okay, you said what? 82. So I don't want to go super close to you. You know what? 92.
92. Okay, so Kieran L, you've said 90.
Yeah.
Kieran D, you said 82. Rowan, you said 92. The correct answer, Atalanta this season have scored 93 goals, which means Rowan nicks it right at the death. 93 goals this season. They only need 2 more goals to break the Serie A all-time scorers for a single club in a season.
They'll do
it now.
Absolutely. 94 goals. That was Rafa Benitez's Napoli all those years ago with Higuain. So 93 goals for Atalanta.
The thing is, right, if KD didn't get angry at me going 1 above him, Kieran would have
Yeah,
become
that's what
equal
I'm
with all of us.
You would have had it.
because I knew I was closest, but then he went and changed his answer.
So you would have got that absolutely. You have literally won off Rowan. So well done. You have won the mini quiz. So well
That's
done.
what I
There.
do.
Congratulations.
I'm just a football knowledge.
I went out to lose, so it's all right.
Well, a good game there. Well done. And well done to everybody who played along too. Hopefully, you got a couple of points on the board. So that's our quiz for this week and our opening section. We're now going to move on to our little bit of another mini section. Of course, last week we did ask for you to send in your kits. We talked about some of our worst club kits from our respective clubs. KD being a Man U fan, Rowan an Oldham fan, Kieran L a Hull fan, and myself as a Rotherham United fan. So we looked at the kits. I asked you to bring your kits in as well, and we have actually had some kits sent in. Now, Bonaldo very nicely sent in some of what he thinks are the worst kits for Tottenham Hotspur in the past. We could see on the left-hand side, kind of like a burgundy-style kit from a couple of years ago. In the middle, a very horrible brown-looking kit. And then on the far right, one of the older kits from the past, a blue one. I'm going to ask you very, very quickly on this one. I might think here there's a resounding vote for which one's the worst. Which one is the worst, do you think? First, second, or third, left to right? I'll let you go. Kieran D.
I think the one on the right's the worst. And then middle, and then the one on the left's actually not bad.
I'm guessing Kieran L. Same?
Yeah, right. Right to left is order of worst to best.
Yeah.
Rowan, full house?
Right, left, middle. The middle is the best one.
Why is your mic so sensitive?
The middle is the best one.
It sounded like
I'm gonna
you had it inside your throat.
Is it all right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Why do you like the middle one?
Because it's the colours of the Dirty Boys.
Oh no.
I like stupid. No, I'm kidding. It is
Please add context.
Yeah,
because
the Dirty Boys is the name of our pro club team.
The Dirty Boys is the name of our pro club's team, and we rock a lovely. We used to rock a lovely brown and yellow home kit because we are dirty. No, if I'm going to be realistic, it's right to left again. The light blue one looks like it's been cut in half and sewed together with a different shirt. The middle one does look like it's come straight out of the toilet, and the left one isn't actually that bad.
I think that's the best way to describe it, to be honest. I was going to go same again, right to left. I think we have seen some light blue Spurs kits in the past, but I just think, once again, same as what I said in the last episode, it kind of reflects the time period, because no doubt, if Ronaldo knows or not, I'd assume that is a 90s kit. So you tell us in the comments as well what you think in terms of the Spurs kits. Thanks to you for Ronaldo for sending in his kit as well. And we've all kind of agreed that we don't really like the one on the far right. So there we go. There is our kit section. We'll now move on to the main section of the podcast. I'm going to literally just go through this. We've got a lot to talk about today in terms of the final games across the leagues. But we have to start off with what I've called last week the Battle of the Bottlers. Am I allowed to now say it's the Battle of the Bottlers? Spurs 2, Arsenal 1. I think that's the nicest way to put it rather than saying that, KD. But no, it really was a poor game of football. Spurs 2, Arsenal 1. Arsenal once again dropping points. AFTV fuming with the result. And you might have heard as well, if you are a big AFTV fan, Claude is now not part of AFTV for a little bit because of some certain comments made, derogatory comments in the background of their watch along. But that's another topic to talk about another day. In terms of Arsenal, is it over now? Is this it? Are they not going to get Europa League football, do we think? Or are they still within a chance?
No, because they've got Liverpool tonight. Can't see them beating Liverpool. And I think I said to this game, I think I said to Kieran, it epitomised where both teams were. It literally Arsenal on top pretty much all game. 2 mistakes and they lose after a brilliant goal from Lacazette. But the actual quality in the game was lacking a lot. It was just back and forth. And it was just average footballers on a pitch at the end of the day.
It was a very, very good goal from Lacazette as well, as you said.
It was a beauty. I feel sorry for Arteta because, let's be fair, he actually put his team out. And without the defensive errors, it was a team that would have won the game. But he can't defend the likes of David Luiz, Shkodran Mustafi, Kolasinac doing the mistakes they do week in, week out. So, but it's the same old story with Arsenal, and you can see positives in their performance sometimes, but it's just mistakes cost them.
Absolutely, and we've talked about it before about Arsenal trying to sign up players on new contracts. David Luiz signing a new 1-year extension. Cedric signing a 4-year extension. It's going to be very, very. It is laughable at the end of the day with the state that Arsenal is in right now. Of course, if they don't get Europa League football, it's going to make it a lot more harder for Arteta to be able to make signings. And we've talked about it before. We had a big debate when Arsenal played Leicester a couple of weeks ago about whether a certain player would want to go to Arsenal or Leicester on their dependent situations, of course. Has anybody's viewpoint from that kind of debate last couple of weeks ago changed, or would you still maybe say that players would join Arsenal even if they didn't have European football?
I still think they'd join because it's a project at the end of the day. It is going to go somewhere. It just depends on how long it takes to get there. But apparently, there's a few players in the Arsenal squad now that apparently want to leave. I read the other day that Hector Bellerin was frustrated because he didn't get a move to Bayern Munich. Ainsley Maitland-Niles reportedly wants to leave as well.
It's bad.
It depends for me on the terms of Leicester versus Arsenal in terms of like buying players. In terms of when Arsenal bid for a player, it depends what other offers are on the table and from what calibre of club. For example, you've got to look at teams like Mönchengladbach who've now got Champions League football. Are they a more appetising option than the likes of Arsenal? I don't think so, due to the level of the history and that. But Arsenal now don't have that pulling power of constant Champions League football, which they did under Wenger. So it may be more difficult, but they still got Pepe in when he was touted by a lot of big teams. They had to pay 70-odd million for him. But I don't know. It'll be tough for them to get the top tier players.
It's going to be tricky indeed. They have talked, by the way, as well. The transfer window dates have now been sorted out, so they'll be opening towards the end of this month, and they close on October the 5th. So we now actually have official confirmation of when the transfer window is going to open, and it finally means we know when we could do deadline day. Yeah,
Get in
most
there.
importantly for us. But,
when is it? When does it end?
That's Monday, October the 5th, so that'll be on a Monday. So
Nice.
At least we're able to now have a proper idea of when that's going to be. As for Spurs, it wasn't the most appetising game of football in the world, but it's a big result for them currently as they stand in the Premier League. They're on 52 points in 8th place, only 2 points behind Sheffield United and 3 points behind Wolves. Could this be the game that maybe spurs them on to try and get a Europa League spot when maybe a lot of people expected them not to?
Yeah, they have got Leicester to play tonight. It could happen. They could push into that race for the European places. But for me, I look at their team and I just don't think they're good enough. Like me and Kieran were talking the other day when we were saying Harry Winks is not good at anything. He's just average at everything. He's not got that one thing that stands out in his game. And obviously, it's bad what's happened to Aurier's family. But on the pitch, he wasn't good. He wasn't. I won't call him awful, but he wasn't good on Sunday. He's literally the epitome of a modern day fullback. They're good going forward, awful at defending. This is the new fullback of now.
He'd suit a wing back role,
Yeah.
Which I feel like we're saying about a lot of right backs when we talk about Hakimi. Or he'd be really good at wing back. The likes of Max Aarons from Norwich. He's a really good wing back, but as a fullback, it's just changing. So I agree with. Oh, go on.
I was just going to kind of add in there and say, originally when he was at Toulouse, before he kind of joined Spurs and he was at PSG, he used to actually play as a right mid. So technically, he's kind of adapted into. I know he's been playing it for a couple of years now, but I guess for him as well, he's probably so used to attacking that maybe it is hard of him to understand the defensive side of play.
But there are a lot of players who have adapted from that winger role or even a defender role to attacking convincingly. Bale's one of the biggest examples. He was fullback before he played at wing. You've got Joshua Kimmich, who's gone even more of a drastic change. You've got Alphonso Davies. You've got Hakimi, who probably, if Dortmund would have needed it, or if Madrid or is it Inter he's gone to need it, he could play at right wing for them. You should be able to, as a football player, you should be able to adapt. And it's not like he hasn't played in a defensive role for the majority of his career. I mean, he was at PSG for a while. It's like...
Go on.
No,
I like that. I was going to say, I think it's Mourinho, to be fair. I don't think he enjoys playing wing backs, but he doesn't like to admit he's wrong ever. I saw this a lot of times at Man United. When someone would have a bad performance, he'd be in the team the next game. If Aurier has a bad performance, there's nobody that takes him out of the team. But it is always Aurier, normally, that is at fault for the goals because he's so vulnerable. Because when we played him in December, we targeted that side, and that's where both our goals came from.
He's a liability defensively. Is Sergio Aurier. If you're a team, even if your best winger is usually on the right, you put him on the left just to go at Aurier. And I mean, we talk about Tottenham, and I agree. They've got a few stars. I'm talking Harry Kane. Is as much as he's he's a star. Son, star. Lucas Moura, he's up there. But in terms of you look around the pitch, it's just players that would just about start for mid-table teams like Ben Davies. No offense to Ben Davies, but he is not a top 4, top in terms of like a team he plays for. And he's another one who I think you can easily target the wide men of Tottenham Hotspur.
What fullbacks do you see going to Tottenham? Like who are out of contract? Who
No idea.
will leave? Who will leave the club now?
It was very heavily linked with Alex Telles, but no one seems to be going for him. And to put it kind of to the point, I don't get why no one is trying to sign him, because he's a great left back, and a play like that is a massive improvement from a Ben Davies.
No, he's astronomical. I would love them to. This won't happen because it's Mourinho, but to play a 5 or a 3 with the wing backs and get both Jamal Lewis and Max Aarons for the future. I'd love, because then you can even sub in an Aurier at wing back, and he won't be as bad defensively. But they need depth at centre back, because also Vertonghen, is he running out of contract if I'm not mistaken, or has he got another
free agent end of season?
Is indeed.
Yeah, Alderweireld, he re-signed recently, but I mean, he's past his best. He's still fantastic, but he's past his best. Davinson Sanchez is another one who, on his day, is a liability. I mean, he's a talented player. Juan Foyth. They just need a lot of improvements to Tottenham.
I think they need another midfielder as well. If he's obviously got a problem with Ndombele, and he doesn't like playing him for some reason.
Mental.
It is.
Yeah,
mental.
I think. Did he say he was out injured for the Newcastle game as well?
I have no idea, but
I think so.
He's obviously got a problem with him because he is probably one of their best midfielders. He's similar to Pogba in a way that he's got that body type and that natural body language, which gives off to fans that he doesn't care, or like he doesn't track back necessarily, because you see it in it when he got subbed off earlier in the season when Tottenham played against, I can't remember who it was, played against someone they lost, and he got subbed off at half time. But he is one of their best players, one of their best midfielders, along with Lo Celso. But it's who you play alongside those two in a midfield. For me, I'm not sure if Eric Dyer is a centre back or a centre mid. But where do you want to play him? Lamella's not good enough. Harry Wink's not good enough. And probably Moussa Sissoko not good enough. We're talking negative about Tottenham, like they didn't win the game, but yeah,
they did win. They did win the game, but Mourinho, he can get wins out of average teams that play average because of just the way he plays football. Like, he's one of them that I feel if you had him at a bottom 5 club, he'd always get you out of relegation because you'd eke about 7 1-0 wins. And
yeah. As soon as it went 1-1, I knew Spurs were winning that game.
I mean, it was a great goal from Lacazette to open the scoring, of course. Mistake to that with Kolasinac as well, which has really spurred that debate even more about bringing centre-backs in. And in terms of not just Arsenal as centre-backs, Benaldo, as a Tottenham fan himself, says, this is 100% true. We need centre-backs and full-back signings of dedicated defenders in their natural role. And, of course, very importantly, we spoke about it last week once again, of whether maybe Spurs as well need to kind of try and push for Europe, or whether it would do them better. It's going to be a tough season for them, tough run to the end. I think, KD, did you say they're playing Leicester tonight, I think?
I think they have got Leicester.
Newcastle
Leicester on the weekend.
Yes,
Newcastle
tonight. Tonight's going to be fun. I was looking, because you've got Wolves, Arsenal and Tottenham all in things, all having games, and then you've got Bournemouth who've got City. Like, there's stuff going on all over the table.
It's great because pretty much every game there has an importance, whether you're Bournemouth and you're fighting relegation, which we are going to actually talk about a little bit later on, or whether you're Arsenal or you're trying to push for a European spot, which is going to be very tough now for them with that loss, and it's a shame. Chris has put, do you think Arsenal will rest players tonight versus Liverpool, as they've got Arsenal? Sorry, they haven't got Arsenal. Arsenal are not playing themselves. They've got Man City in the FA Cup semi-finals on Saturday.
Can they afford to rest players, though, really?
No.
If they realistically want to get Europe, they need to get some out of this game tonight.
They need to get something out of both games this week, because let's say they do drop points tonight, then the FA Cup will mean even more. The problem is you can't rely on yourself. Oh yeah, we'll go out and beat Man City in the FA Cup, so we can play a weaker team for the cup, or vice versa.
I think these two games will give Arsenal fans a good idea of where they are, and it'll give them a nice reality check to see how far they are behind Man City and Liverpool, the best two teams in England by far.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting end to the season. We've got a lot to cover very shortly about the race for the top four and the relegation battle. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We're now going to move on to the next league very quickly to talk about. There's a big game. I feel like I say this every week about Italy, but there never seems to be a disappointing moment. Juventus and Atalanta faced off 2-2 draw. This was an interesting game. Atalanta, if you haven't seen on Twitter, there was somebody who put up one of the most outstanding goals, I think, of the last decade in terms of how it was done. This is the type of stuff we see Manchester City or Prime Barcelona do. There was a 7-minute period of play where Juventus did not touch the ball and Atalanta scored. I think it was like the 18th minute, Duvan Zapata opened the scoring. It was unbelievable. And as I said, it's the kind of stuff you'd expect Prime Barcelona to be doing back in the day. And what a performance they had. And unfortunately, they just couldn't hold on to try and get all the 3 points. Cristiano Ronaldo, he scored 2 penalties. I don't know whether you guys have seen this or not. The 90th minute came round. Atalanta were in the lead. There was a very controversial handball given on Luis Muriel, which has kind of spurred a very big debate in Italy about the handball situation and the rule in general, not just for Italy, but for FIFA and all the competitions in general. The ball was smashed at Muriel's hand. It looked awkwardly out, but at the same time, it was hit with so much power. It's very, very hard for a player like Muriel to move his hand out.
He had no chance in moving it.
Absolutely. And maybe, is any of you in here thinking it should be a penalty, or are we all kind of on the same wavelength?
No, it was not a penalty.
It wasn't a penalty.
But so we're all agreeing it's not a penalty, and that's the thing. It spurred a real big debate because, of course, Juventus fans, as you would expect, are saying it's a penalty, but they're going to say it's a penalty because they're a fan of Juventus, and they've got every right to say it is a penalty as much as an Atalanta fan says that it isn't a penalty. But either way, Cristiano Ronaldo, 90th minute, scored the equaliser, another penalty for him, of course, to get him, I think that's his 26th or 27th goal, something like that this season, and get them a valuable point. Now, Juventus, they're on 76 points in Serie A. Atalanta are now on 70 points. There is a certain game which I haven't picked out this week, which could be very important. We've been talking a lot about maybe the title race being over in Italy. Juventus do actually face Lazio on Monday. I do believe they've got another game before that because it's very, very quick turnover of matches right now in Serie A. So Atalanta, they're second in the league. It's fantastic to see, and I can see Kieran celebrating. It's deserved, isn't it? Let's be real.
I want them to win the league now. Out of nowhere, I just want them to win the league. Because when they came back, we went, oh, it's Inter, you know, Lazio is still in there, and then Juve, and then Atalanta have put together an incredible run. I mean, last night against Brescia, they won 6-2. And for me, I think I was talking to KD about this last night. Duvan Zapata has been on fire since the restart. I don't know where it's come from, but he's become unbelievable, and so's pretty much every member of the squad. You know, Mario Pasalic picked up a hat-trick last night. So I would love them to just go on and win the league. And if they would have beat Juventus here, which they should have done because it wasn't a penalty, this title race would have been blown wide open, considering Juventus play Sassuolo tonight, who were 8, and Lazio on the weekend. I think it would have just been amazing. But pick up the Atalanta. Go and win the league.
Do you know what? Sebastian's agreed with you. He said Zapata is absolutely amazing, and I agree with him. He did pick up a very serious injury right at the start of the season, which kept him out for a very long period of time, but he's come back. And him and Muriel, my Lord, we spoke last week once again. I know we're bringing a lot back up, but Muriel, 17 goals this season is absolutely outstanding, especially for somebody who tends to usually come off the bench.
Yeah.
It's really good. Popcorn KFC Chicken, welcome to the stream. What a name. He's put, if Atalanta don't lose their players, we could be looking at the most attacking side in Italy. And I tell you what, most attacking side in Europe, because, of course, they only need 7 more goals, which for a team like Atalanta is very doable to be on the same amount of goals as Bayern Munich with 100, which is unbelievable.
I will say, I don't know if you saw last night's game against Brescia. They won 6-2, but Atalanta's defensively, Matteo Caldara had an awful performance. Yet they still won. This is taking nothing away, but the reason I don't think Atalanta are right up there is because defensively they're not as sturdy as the other teams. Because I don't know if you saw Caldara last night, but he looked at 6s and 7s.
I didn't get to look at it. I don't know if anybody else did.
No.
If you watch the highlights, watch Caldara.
If you look at the Atalanta games, though, they're very Canese can at least pick up them 10 goals. Like in terms of you've got Verona, then Bologna, then you've got Milan, AC Milan, then you've got Parma, and then you've got Inter. Obviously, the 2 Milan games are going to be very tough. They're going to be the make and break for them. But then after that, they've got the PSG game. Let's say they pick up wins against Inter, Parma, and Milan. That momentum, we talked about it when we did the Champions League draw. But this momentum they could sort of decimate Paris.
I think if you're PSG, you should be scared.
I think PSG beat someone 13-0 in a friendly.
Yeah, it was a League 2 team though, or even a League 3 team actually.
I don't think you can say the word decimate, to be honest.
Since the restart, though, now watching them, I feel like this tie genuinely might end about 7-7 on aggregate, just because of both teams. And also, I now fancy Atalanta's chances more than I originally did after seeing them go toe-to-toe with Juventus. Because the thing is, you can take so much from a win against Brescia, a win against like Spal, or something like. You can only take so much, but when they go toe-to-toe with Juventus and deserve to win the game, now I really believe in Europe they've got a chance. Not to win this tournament.
It's the consistency as well. We had the game which we picked out between Atalanta and Lazio, I think about 2 weeks ago, where they were 2-0 down. They came back and won that 3-2. They've had multiple comebacks, I think, against the likes of Roma, AC Milan, going on to win. And as you perfectly said before about the Champions League, they beat Valencia 8-4 in aggregate. I watched both legs and they were absolutely outstanding. And as you said, and even Popcorn KFC Chicky said, mate, I hope so, 7-7. It is going to be the game that I think everybody's going to want to watch.
Is it a single
there is going to be goals in it. Single leg game, yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So it really is all to play for. I mean, if it ends 7-7 after one leg, then it's going to be a tasty match. That's the best way to put it. They literally have Mustafi and Luiz at the back, and a second. It's absolutely mad.
Palomino's not as bad as that. I like Palomino. I'll put him in my team at season. But
Raphael Toloi as well is quite a good player on his day.
Who do you think, for example, who do you think Atalanta can realistically attract? Because let's be fair, they got into Champions League this year and done really well. But their recruitment hasn't been... I mean, they've signed good players, but like the likes of Martin Deroon was playing at Middlesbrough. Mario Pasalic couldn't even get near the Chelsea team. So I just don't know how many players they can attract, because they're still quite a relatively, I don't want to be harsh, but a small team in the world stage.
But they've had the perfect season in terms of a club can look at them and think, well, look at the results they've had, look at where they're finishing, they're challenging Juve. Players may think, right, well, this club has clearly shown development. Why not? I think the biggest thing will be money, because they're not going to be the richest side in that division. But if a big Champions League run, a semis, even if they can get to the semis.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. And Gasperini as well, such an incredible manager. I'm laughing because somebody's just made an account called Poo Piss.
Oh no! So I saw you were laughing. I was like, did I say something wrong? And then I checked the comments and I saw Poo Piss. I was like, kid hell.
Hello, Poo Piss. Welcome to the stream. Bernardo's put grab Tonali for Atalanta, and I think they're a great side. Sebastian's put, if Atalanta made it to the semis or finals, which underdog story would be better? Atalanta of this season or Ajax of last? I'm going to say Atalanta, because this is the first time they've ever been in the competition.
Ajax, definitely.
I'd go with Ajax because of the team. They went to the Bernabeu and destroyed Real Madrid.
And the
Like,
big
You've only got to remember as well, Atalanta were bottom of their group going into match day 3, and they brought it back. So that's why I'm adding that into it as well. Not to sway any opinions.
I think you just wait and see against PSG. But like you said, if they do get through to the second, I don't know. Atalanta? Just because you look at the actually.
If they get to the final, then that story is beyond Ajax by a million. But it depends as well on that, because let's be fair, they got a quite easy round of 16 draw against Valencia. Atalanta have worse players, do you think?
I guess if you kind of put them side by side, the defence that Atalanta's got was worse because De Ligt at that point was already kind of a big name. Midfield wise, I'd say it's worse. Pasalic, De Bruyne. Compare it to the likes of De Jong and Van de Beek. It's a much better midfield.
I say you probably up front is on the level with them.
I'm kind of talking in terms of like playing names, really, because I guess, like as you said, De Bruyne being at Middlesbrough, it's such a big change from his Middlesbrough days.
Atalanta's attack, though. Atalanta's attack is by worlds and away better, and that's insane because you look at the likes of Ziyech, David Neres, and Dusan Tadic. No offense to them, but Atalanta, they've got three players over 15 goals, is it?
3 players over 15, yeah.
Not even including Alejandro Gomez as well, because he can score when he wants and he gets all the assists. So they're very similar, but I don't know. That's a very good question. I really don't know.
It's a great season for them, and as I said, Champions League wise, going to be a great match to watch. In fact, actually, we might all be able to watch that because I think the quarterfinals are 1 game each, so we might all be sat there watching that match, praying for the goals. But that is the game in Serie A. What a fantastic match that was! We're going to talk about Serie A's race for Europe a little bit later on. So we're now going to very quickly move on to another one of the big games we talked about in La Liga. Now, last week I said about Villarreal, Real Sociedad, and pretty much all the teams fighting for Europe kind of struggling right now to work towards those European spots. And Real Sociedad, massive victory for them. It's only their second win since the comeback in La Liga, and they desperately needed it. Willian Jose, he opened the scoring. Of course, he was linked with Tottenham very heavily in the January transfer window. A lot of fans thought he'd never actually played for Sociedad again. He's got right back into the team and not necessarily done impressively well, but he's getting a couple of goals here and there, which is good to see. Opened the scoring in the second half with a header past Sergio Asensio. And then they actually doubled their lead once again from a header. Diego Llorente making it 2-0. And then Santi Cazorla, a little bit later on in the game, he took a shot from inside of the area. Fantastic play. We talked about him before having injury issues. I'm not even going to look at the comments right now. But they wouldn't actually go on to win. Which means that Sociedad have actually kept their spot in Europa League. I'm just going to say right now, for anybody who's watching this on Facebook, to give you context, somebody's writing some rather explicit stuff in the chat, so I'm not going to read it out. But the Europa League battle is very, very tight right now. Villarreal losing that game. They're in 5th on 57 points. Getafe are in 6th on 54 points. Real Sociedad also on 54 points in 7th, while Athletic Bilbao are in 8th on 51, so they're kind of behind the race. As for Valencia, wanted to very quickly bring this up for anybody who doesn't know about Valencia. Of course, they kind of have a usual yearly breakdown, and it looks like they're now not going to get Europa League football because I found out this weekend, before their match against struggling Leganes, they decided to phone up some of the agents of their players and say their players aren't needed for next season before a match. So, well done. Poor performance there from Valencia. Say again, sorry?
Is it being leaked who them players were?
It has been leaked who the players was, like specifically, but there was
I meant not any big boys.
I think one of the players is Ferran Torres, which of course has been linked with Man City. Big time. They're looking for a replacement for Leroy Sané, and apparently his contractual situation has got a release clause. So they're pretty much saying it's very likely you're going to go out of the door either way. And a couple of the players on the side as well. I think Gamiro, he might be leaving as well. A couple of kind of not big name players, but important players to the club as well. So they kind of bottled it at the end. But Real Sociedad, big win for them. They needed it. Second win of the season, as I said, since the comeback. And fantastic there. And I need to get rid of that comment because I can see it in my eyes. And I'm just going to, 2 seconds, guys. There we go.
Oh no. No.
I just need to do that for the sake of the stream. Right then. That put us right off topic there. I'm not going to say what the name of the commenter was because it's just it's not. It's just explicit. But we'll move on anyway.
You can join the
Athletic today. What a way to move on to the Athletic.
You can join the Athletic today.
That's the worst thing I've got to now. I've got to go on to an ad read. But no, you can join the Athletic today. Of course, the football season is coming towards the end, but there's still plenty more content to come. Not just in football, but across all the sports. WWE, there's UFC, there's combat sports, you name it. They have the content. 50% off your annual subscription as well as a 7-day free trial. The link is in the description as always. I believe, as far as I'm aware, our discount ends at the very end of July. So you've got a couple more weeks left to get it before it finishes. As I said, don't shoot the messenger. It might get extended, but as far as I'm aware, it's the end of July it finishes. theathletic.co.uk/sports corner. Link is in the description as always. Thank God for that, because I tell you what, if I was reading that comment out while I was doing the Athletic sponsorship, that would have not gone down well. Oh dear. Well, oh, I did well there, because I tell you what, it wouldn't just be Claude who was getting booted off IFTV. It'd be us losing our sponsorship as well.
I want to know why Claude got booted off now.
It's right to give you context on why Claude got booted off. If you don't know about it, very quickly before we go into the games of the week.
It's not like if you take it like. Go, Josh. You take it.
Is it anti-Semitic?
Basically, there is a derogatory term that was used back in the day for Asian players where they would say DVD. So what they meant by that is the fact that they used to say Asian people would sell bootleg DVDs and things like that. So without no one realizing, Claude said, as someone was coming off the pitch, DVD's coming off. Which, of course, wasn't picked up originally, and now people have kind of picked up. He's, of course, being kind of suspended and has been told to go on a course. So it's understandable. It's very understandable.
If you know the historic meaning.
Then stupid.
Yeah, I think if you don't know the historic meaning, you might kind of look at it in a way and think there's always the banterous joke going around between the two clubs saying that they make DVDs of every time they win a North London derby against each other. But with the way that it's said, you can quite clearly tell he's not said it in that way at all. But Sebastian Castellon said, do you guys do transfer rumours? We don't do transfer rumours, but we do deadline day. But we'll talk about that, of course, towards the end of the stream. That's months away before we even do that. But we're now going to move on to games of the week. It's a little bit different this time, games of the week. We are into our last 2 weeks of the podcast, as I said before at the beginning. So we're not really essentially going to be doing score predictions. It's kind of giving you an overlook as to the potential situations that can happen throughout the leagues that are still left. Of course, we have La Liga, we have Serie A, which has 6 match days left. But we're kind of going to do the last 2 because it goes on right till the middle of not end of August, right to the beginning or middle of August or something like that. And then we also have the Premier League as well. So I thought today we're going to start off with La Liga. It's the final week. There is a match day tomorrow and a match day on Sunday. One of the most important fixtures for any Real Madrid fan is tomorrow against Villarreal. Now, that could be the title-winning fixture. They're 4 points ahead of Barcelona as it currently stands. This game as well. I'm not gonna say it, but this game as well. If they win it, Real Madrid do win the title. Villarreal, though, they need to win this game because they've lost a few on the bounce now. That's 2 on the bounce. Of course, losing to Real Sociedad and Barcelona. They now need to win this game to try and keep their hopes of European football alive. Is it over? Is this the game where Real Madrid clinch it?
No.
Yes.
Do you actually think no, Kieran?
It depends if they draw. Do they still win the title?
They depends on Barcelona's result, I think. Let me just have a check. So if Real Madrid draw and Barcelona win, then no, because it would go down to 2 points between each club. So it would actually go down to the final.
I think they'll draw this. I don't know why. Just got a feeling.
Oh, it's like the Black Eyed Peas.
They're a very, very tricky side.
I thought that was a good one.
What did you say?
He's like the Black Eyed Peas. He's got a feeling. Come on. Right, I'm not.
Sorry, I was going to check their album for a song called "It's a Draw," but I didn't find one. Sorry. Going up. My apologies.
I understand.
It was worth a try. We always like to try and squeeze in one little joke. It didn't work this time, Rowan. Maybe next week. You've got one more week to pull off one.
Maybe. We just know it's not going to happen, but I appreciate it.
But it's a tricky game. Villarreal, as I said, they are still right up there. They're in 5th place right now, 57 points. It could be done because if Real Madrid lose, what a final game of the season that's going to be, because both teams, which I'll move to the other screen as well very quickly to show you the Barcelona and Real Madrid's last games, they're actually facing both of the teams at the bottom of the league. So depending on what happens in their matches between Alaves and Leganes, they might also still be fighting to survive in the last game of the season. So it really, really could be an interesting way to end the season if they drop points. But Kieran D, you don't think they're going to drop points? Do you think that it's going to be a simple cruise all the way to the title?
Yeah, they've looked really good for Real Madrid, and it's only a matter of when, not if now. If they win, when they win the league.
It has been a very, very good season for them. They've kind of worked very well. Barcelona, of course, towards the top end of the table for quite a long period of time. Benzema, a couple of other players like that. Ramos as well, dishing in with the goals, has helped Real Madrid, of course, get to that top spot and might now be on their way to win the title. But we're going to move on from the top end of the table to the bottom end because the relegation battle is really tense down there. Just to give you a bit of context in terms of the points, I'll move forward to this one here. This is how the relegation battle currently stands now. Espanyol are already relegated, which is a surprise. They finished 7th last season. They finish bottom of the league, which is a crazy, crazy situation down in Espanyol, of course. One of Barcelona's actual derby rivals now gone. Mallorca, they're in 19th on 32 points. Leganes, they actually beat Valencia at the weekend, which means they moved into 18th place on 32 points. And then the other two teams who can kind of not necessarily relax, but will still feel the pressure on them. Alaves on 36 points. Celta Vigo on 36 points as well. So still a couple of clubs fighting down there, although there is a bit of a marginal difference in points. Now, as I said, the 2 match days on Sunday. On Thursday, Mallorca faces Granada. Granada high flying this season. Mallorca not doing too bad themselves in the last couple of match weeks. That's Thursday. Real Betis versus Alaves. Mid-table Real Betis this season. Alaves just on the outside to the relegation spots. Athletic Bilbao face Leganes. For Bilbao, it looks like the European race is pretty much over. Leganes, of course, they desperately need points at this stage of the season to survive. And then the other game is Celta Vigo. I've put versus Leganes as well. What have I done? I've put the same team playing twice.
They're playing different teams at the same time.
That's how good they are. They could get 6 points from both. No, I've missed the team off. Oh dear. I'm trying to look now what team it is. I think it would be...
It's Wait, who is it? Celta Vigo? Levante.
Levante, that's the one. There you go. Thank you, Rowan. You've saved me. Celta Vigo playing Levante. I usually have a daily nightmare at some point. I've had that now. It's only taken me an hour to get into it. Celta Vigo are playing Levante. That's on Thursday at 8 o'clock. And then the other match today... Have I got this one correct? Let me have a look. I have indeed. Osasuna, they face Mallorca Sunday, 8 p.m. That is a very tight one. Osasuna, they're towards the lower end of the table. Espanyol face Celta Vigo. Bottom Espanyol right now. Celta Vigo, they really need the points. That could be a great way to seal their fate as in staying in the league, of course. Alaves and Leganes, oh my lord, they've got to face Barcelona and Real Madrid, who might also, as I said, both be fighting for the title, depending on whether Villarreal can beat Real Madrid or not. I'll get the points up for you so you kind of know who's where. It is tough right now in La Liga because Leganes, they're on 32 points. We will all remember back in January they lost Martin Braithwaite because of the emergency loan system. So they have kind of been down there for a large period of time. Alaves, Lucas Perez, just to name one of their big players there, they're struggling, but they've got a 4-point gap. As for Celta Vigo, we talked about them not too long ago as well. Who do you think is going to get relegated? Do we think it's going to kind of stay like that, or do we think maybe Vigo or Alaves are going to drop in?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Espanyol are going to get relegated. It might be a long shot, but throwing it out there.
There's a
to give
chance.
context as well. Espanyol on 24 points. So,
there's no
oh dear.
chance.
Chance, there's always a chance.
I think it'll stay as it is. It won't change.
Same.
I mean, it's tough games at the end. Barcelona and Real Madrid both kind of facing off against two of the bottom teams. You know, Celta Vigo, they clutched a couple of big victories here and there this season. Of course, a 5-1 win against Mallorca not too long ago, so that kind of saved them. Leganes and Mallorca, they've tried plodding along. Mallorca getting a couple of decent results themselves, but just not enough at this stage. As we usually make score predictions, but I think because there's so many games going on, we'll leave score predictions out for now because we're going to move on to the next section. Of course, as well, do put in the chat who you think is going to get relegated in La Liga and if you think Real Madrid are going to nick the title. Because if Barcelona do it somehow, it will be an unbelievable end to the league in Spain. We're going to move on to the race for the top four. Now, this is in the Premier League. It has been a very, very crazy week in terms of those teams battling it out for the top four. We know Leicester got battered by Bournemouth. Not Bournemouth, sorry. Yeah, it was Bournemouth.
Yeah, Bournemouth.
4-1. Bournemouth.
Yeah,
got that one right. There we go. Got there in the end. Cheers,
it's better when Roman's correcting you.
There was also the result for Sheffield United. Big win, beating Chelsea 3-0. Man United dropping points against Southampton. And then, of course, we moved on to another match day, which means yesterday Chelsea beat Norwich to kickstart the new match day. Now, we've spoken about it before on the watch-along that we did with Southampton. Looking at it now, as a Man United fan, Kieran, are you still disappointed, or do you think maybe you're still well within a shout here of getting point into the top four, especially with Leicester's run?
We'll be still well within a chance anyway, but it's just disappointing that we could have gone third and we didn't take the chance at the end of the day. We just weren't good enough.
It was a poor result. Of course, we did that watch-along a couple of days ago. Great game of football. Not if you're a Man United fan. If you are a Southampton fan, you'll be absolutely ecstatic with the result. As for Sheffield United, big 3-0 win against Chelsea. Played them off the park. Sheffield United, it really is now looking not massively likely, but they've got an inside shout here of maybe making it into Europe. How big is that for Chris Wilder?
Yeah, we've said all season it's massive. But I think they've got a real chance of beating Leicester. Like we've seen the vulnerability of them in the last couple of weeks since the restart, and how frail they are at the back. They're going to be without Soyuncu for the rest of the season now after he volleyed Callum Wilson in the back of the net.
Stupid.
Yeah. I think the only positive for Leicester is that Jamie Vardy's found his scoring boots again.
And he's found it at the right time because they desperately need the goals. We spoke before about Leicester's run. They've got to play Sheffield United. They've also got to play Spurs at some point too. So tricky run of games. And Man United at the last game of the season. So they've got it pretty much all to do. As for the other games, you can see this is how the race for the top four is going over the next couple of days. I think there's 2 kind of match days going on at the same time this week. I've kind of picked out the games on Wednesday, Thursday. So Burnley, they play Wolves tonight, 6 p.m. UK time. Burnley, 50 points this season. What a great season they've had. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to get a European spot, but great season for them. They go up against Wolves, who will still be within a shout of getting those European spots. Leicester City, they face Sheffield United. That is also coming up today. Leicester City right now in 4th place on 59 points. As for Sheffield United, if they can win tonight, they potentially could move into 6th spot, depending on the result for Wolves. Crystal Palace, they face Manchester United. That's Thursday at 8:15. Big game, of course. Palace dropped off in recent weeks. As for Man United, well, they need to bounce back from that result against Southampton. And then, as I said before, Chelsea already played last night against Norwich City. It's a game everyone expected them to win. Olivier Giroud with a goal. That means that they are in the driving seat right now for the top 4 spots. In terms of those matches, the 3 games, who do we think is going to win each one?
Are we on about the ones that are on the screen?
Burnley, yeah. Sheffield United and Man United. Just because that's how I want it to go.
Burnley, Leicester, draw. Maybe a United win, but I've got a thinking draw.
Agenda.
It's not an agenda. It's what I think.
Agenda.
I mean, Burnley, what a season they've had. As I said, they're currently stat right now on 50 points. If they can win this game, dependent on the results for Arsenal and Tottenham, they can move into the top 8. Still within a very, very small shout of you. They're only 5 points behind 6th place, but they would have a lot. They need a lot to go their way, of course. If they could beat Wolves, then that's a great result to keep them off instantly. But of course, they'd still have to rely on Sheffield United, Tottenham, and Arsenal dropping points as well.
Welch knows what it's about. Look at that. Wolves.
There we go.
Go on, Welch, lad.
So Welsh is saying Chelsea might not get top 4. Still next 2 games away to Liverpool and homes to Wolves. Wolves/Leicester to draw and United to win. So Welchie is repping Man United to a certain extent. But Aldo's put United get a 2-0 win. Wolves draw. Leicester can get a 1-0. So some good games going on.
Leicester, but I think Burnley and Wolves, Leicester, Sheffield United both be close games because they're not really those teams that will go out there and smash you 3-4-0. They only win 2-0 ish, mainly. Be close games.
Well, it's some great matches, and no doubt there'll be a lot of people watching the Premier League over these next couple of days. Burnley Wolves tonight, 6 p.m. UK time, but there's other games going on as well that I haven't actually put on here. Other games, as we said before, Newcastle and Tottenham played tonight, Man City and Bournemouth, and then the other big game, Arsenal, Liverpool. We'd be interested to see whether Arsenal do rest any players or not ahead of their FA Cup game. We're now going to move on to the fight for survival as well. I think it's very important to bring this up. We haven't really talked about the relegation battle a great deal this season. Now is a great time to bring it up. Man City, they play Bournemouth tonight, and they're going to need a bit of luck, but they will be going in with that big 4-1 victory against Leicester. So could that maybe spur them on to shock Man City? Probably not, but you never know in football. Everton and Aston Villa. Everton right now, they have kind of been not doing amazing, but picking up minimal points here and there. Their European run looks to be over. As for Villa, they also picked up a great victory not too long ago, so they're still within the fight for survival. Southampton, they face Brighton. Southampton coming in 2-2 draw against Man U. Can they pick up points? Of course, Brighton looking in a great position to survive, but they're still within a shout of getting relegated. They would need a lot to not go their way, though, if that was to happen. And then the final one, what a clash this is going to be in terms of the relegation battle. West Ham and Watford, they both thought they might have sealed their fates at the weekend, but results going elsewhere to the likes of Bournemouth and Villa means that they're still within a shout to get relegated. As far as I'm aware, I think a point might potentially be good enough for them, not necessarily to survive, but make their chances a little bit better. But, of course, whoever wins will probably be safe. The points, as you can see right now, Norwich already relegated. The Canaries going back down to the Championship. They're just like us, a yo-yo club. 19th, Aston Villa, 30 points. 18th is Bournemouth on 31 points. West Ham and Watford on 34 points.
That's with Brighton on 36 points. We've probably lost Josh again.
You'll hear Josh in the background, but it's fine.
Try and forget he's there. So yeah, we've got Brighton on 36, West Ham 34, Watford 34. Massive game, Watford West Ham on Friday night.
Massive game.
Really big. I mean, do you think? I think the biggest team, obviously Bournemouth, getting that great result against Leicester. Do you think, out of the teams in the bottom, who's the team that you genuinely see surviving, Villa or Bournemouth?
Villa, because Bournemouth have played Wednesday.
Yeah, Villa have got West Ham on last day as well, and I think Villa are that sort of team that will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and after the win on weekend, which I'm sorry if we're talking about dodgy handballs, how Mamadou Sakho's goal was disallowed, I've got no idea because I don't know anymore. But I do like Bernardo's comment. Domo arigato, Joshi Roboto. He is indeed.
that was quite smooth, actually.
It should be all right now. Are we all good?
Yeah, right.
You sound all right.
There we go. It's all Virgin Media shite company. But yeah, at Villa, they've got some great games to come. West Ham, well, they need the points because as you
They need the points.
On the last lose to Watford and then lose to Villa.
Oh, you did for a bit.
Have I gone again?
You did for a bit.
We've lost Josh again. But he's back.
I should be back now. Yeah, no. What we're saying is they need the points because if Villa beat them on the last day and Watford beat them as well, it really could be a potential chance that West Ham go down. It's small, but it's possible. Anything can happen in the Premier League. And of course, it'd be interesting to see what other people think in the chat on who they think is going to get relegated in the Premier League. Benalla thinks that Mikel Antonio will save West Ham. Of course, scored 4 goals against Norwich, which was unbelievable. And then Chris, I feel Bournemouth. Mad game for him. Outstanding result for West Ham. And then Welsh just put, I feel Bournemouth and Villa still left it late for me to survive. So potentially he thinks that the table is going to look the same. So that is the.
I have a little love for Eddie Howe, so I sort of want Bournemouth to stay up.
I think that West Ham have got too much quality to go down.
I think West Ham will beat Watford, and that puts Watford back in a lot of trouble. I mean, they would have been in a lot more trouble had they not come back against Newcastle on the weekend. But out of all them teams there, if I had to drag another team back in between Brighton, West Ham, and Watford, it'd be Watford.
It's going to be interesting.
Watford on Friday night.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll dispatch them. It'll be 2 or 3-0, and then that'll be West Ham safe for another year. And then I guess build for next year, because I don't think Moisey's going to be there next year.
Well, that's the tough thing with West Ham. They always kind of like to have a prospectus of getting into that top 10, but these last couple of years, they've never really made it. We'll have to see whether Moisey's there or not. You
look at the squad, though. They've got such a good squad on paper.
I mean, you look at players like Felipe Anderson, a great example of a player who, on his day, can light up the Premier League, but just doesn't do it enough.
Obviously, yeah, they've had unlucky injuries with Yarmolenko, who's been out for the last season and a half with consistent injuries. But yeah, they've got far too good of a squad to go down, in my opinion.
So that is the fight for survival. That'll be going on over the next couple of weeks. We'll keep you up to date with that over the next 2 weeks. I think the Premier League ends on the 26th, I think, on a Sunday, 4 o'clock kickoff for those games. So we'll talk to you about that a little bit later on with what we're going to be doing for that. We're now going to move on to the last section in terms of games of the week. Serie A right now, the title race isn't necessarily finished, but Juventus do have a little bit of a gap. I think the best thing to look at right now is the fight for Europe. The relegation battle is looking not necessarily over with, but teams are starting to pull away from that bottom end of the table. So I'll put the points up first here, actually. As you can see on the screen, there are 4 teams really fighting right now for the European spots. Sassuolo, they're in 8th on 46 points. AC Milan are in 7th on 50 points. Napoli are in 6th on 52 points. And AS Roma are in 5th on 54 points. In terms of those games to be played this weekend, Cagliari face Sassuolo on Saturday at 6:30. Of course, Cagliari dropping off over these last couple of months. It means they've dropped down the table very, very heavily since we last spoke about them all those times ago. We've then got AC Milan versus Bologna. They had a great run recently against some of those top sides. Can they keep it going? Because AC Milan will desperately want to get into Europe, specifically with Ralf Rangnick joining next season. Napoli, they face a struggling Udinese. They've not been good in recent years. They're still in there trying to fight for survival, but they should stay up. Of course, Gennaro Gattuso has done an incredible job since he's moved in after Ancelotti's sacking months ago. And then the other game, the standout fixture, not of the week, but of the European teams fighting for the top 6, AS Roma versus Inter Milan. Inter Milan been struggling these last couple of weeks, dropping points here and there. AS Roma, they have been picking up plenty of points, but can they do it again? In terms of the fight for Europe, I'll put the points up again. It's a tough one right now. 2 teams in resurgence, 1 team kind of bobbling on, getting results, and Sassuolo, they're winning a very small shout, but they could do it. Who do we think is going to get into that top 6?
I have a question.
Go for
Napoli won the Coppa Italia, so do they not automatically get Europa anyway?
I don't know with how it works in Italy. It might do. Have a look for me, Rowan.
It drops 7th to Europe because Napoli have already got Europa, so it dropped AC Milan in.
Just make sure on that one. It might be, because then if it does drop to 7th, you could
the winner
automatic.
So the winner automatically qualifies for both the UEFA Europa League group stage and the Supercoppa Italiana the following year.
Right, so I'm presuming then 7th would pop into the Europa League, maybe, or does that maybe?
I'm guessing so, yeah.
So, I mean, the realistic one is Roma and AC Milan, which makes this a little bit of a less of a fight for Europe because Napoli have already got it.
Well, that's very disappointing.
No, well,
I mean, there is Hellas Verona that 2 points behind Sassuolo in 9th as well. So,
the top 4 teams in Serie A qualify for the Champions League, so that's not worry. Teams finishing 5th and 6th qualify for the Europa League tournament. A third UEFA Europa League spot is reserved for the winner of the Coppa Italia. So Napoli have won it, so yeah, go down to 7th.
7th. Right, okay. Well, I think it's going to be Roma and AC Milan, Josh.
The way Milan have playing, I don't see them dropping.
They've got some big games coming though. Still,
well, there's 2. Is there 2 games left, or is
6?
Is about to say I couldn't remember which league had a few games left.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of games left, but I do think AC Milan have looked good, so I'd go Roma and AC.
Just the way the AC have been playing. Sassuolo, they've been playing decent, but they've got a tough. If they win their game tonight against Juve, it's going to be more interesting for sure. But it's going to be extremely hard for them to outgo AC and Roma.
It'd be a tough chance. I mean, Sassuolo have been Juve's bogey team over the last couple of years. They have actually, I think, lost a couple of games over them in recent years. Domenico Berardi, you might remember, former Juventus man, been banging in the goals for Sassuolo this season. Does anyone think Sassuolo win with an outside shout of getting in? Or are we all...
tonight?
Based on tonight.
What's that?
Don't they have to play Juve tonight?
Yeah.
No, then.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it'd be hard. I really
For
do.
me, it's just based on tonight. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, you look though, Roma have got to face Inter, so that's a tough game for them. But I think the other 2 teams, if we're looking at squad on paper and we're looking at how they've played, I think Roma have gone really under the radar because, like, I just feel like they've always been there, but yet they've never stole the show any weekend. Like, do you know when we used to do it in the studio? I feel like even then we didn't talk about Roma once. It's just a bit strange. I
think when we did talk about Roma, we just talked, oh yeah, they're quite a decent side. They've got some of these players, but we never talked how well they are in 5th. They're only 1 place off thing. But I think the other teams in Serie A have just played it so well that Roma just haven't had that chance to be talked about.
They've been plodding along this season, but getting great results. Eusebio Di Francesco doing a great job there, and of course they are well within a shout now. They're quite far ahead of the rest of the pack, specifically when you look between Sassuolo and Roma themselves. There's a big difference in points. But there's 6 games left to go, most importantly, in Serie A. We're going to cover it for one last time next week. Apart from that, as of next week, all of the leagues have finished apart from Serie A. So that's why we're not going to kind of continue on the podcast, and we're going to kind of move on to something else in terms of Champions League and Europa League. So that is the fight for Europe in Serie A. In terms of other games going on this week, I'm doing it once again, picking out some great games in the Turkish Super League. Why not have a game of Turkish Super League yellow card bingo? Because Besiktas and Fenerbahce are playing on Sunday at 7 o'clock. And I always like to pick out one of these fixtures in terms of how many yellow cards or red cards are given out. And of course, Besiktas 4th right now in Super League, 7th placed are Fenerbahce, been a poor season for the away side. They've been not necessarily struggling, but not as good as expected of a season as they've had. That is on Sunday at 7 p.m. That should be on BT Sport. Liga NOS, what a game tonight. FC Porto, who have had an incredible turnaround in the league. They were 7 points behind Benfica, now 7 points plus ahead of Benfica at the top of the table. They face off against 3rd place Sporting Lisbon. That's tonight on Premier Sport at 9:30. Great game that's going to be. Expect plenty of goals. In fact, talking about goals, Besiktas and Fenerbahce hasn't been goalless for 4 years now. I'd probably jinx that, and it'll be a 0-0 tonight. In terms of other games that have plenty of goals, if you're up late, maybe you want to watch some MLS. Of course, that's back with the MLS is Back tournament. The LA Derby is on Sunday. Now, it's not going to be as illustrious as it was last season with the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but there's still some great players, including the likes of Carlos Vela. As it stands in their group, in Group D, LAFC are 3rd. As for LA Galaxy, they're 4th. So whoever wins this is a big victory for them. Of course, that is doing a tournament format.
I was going to say, while you're on the MLS, another game I'm looking forward to, or another team, there's 2 teams I'm really looking forward to watch. New York Red Bulls, they picked up a great win over Atlanta with a 1-0, but also Columbus picked up a 4-0 win over Cincinnati the other day. Obviously, Cincinnati, they're not the best team in the MLS, but picking up a 4-0 win, and also Inter Miami, they've been dreadful since the start. not picking up a win and being beaten by Philadelphia, and then in the opening season being beaten by Orlando City. Like, people are expecting more from Inter Miami, and
they've had a tough start, haven't they, to life?
Mm-hmm.
It's been tricky for them.
If you're creating a new club, like, you want to kind of create it in the most streamlined, just bed the team in, not in a one-time tournament in a world that's filled with a pandemic, in like money problems and everything. Like,
you're stuck in a place.
Yeah, literally everything that could have gone wrong. But these new teams, like, I think Cincinnati's a relatively new team to the MLS. I think they're just going to have to wait to get up and running until maybe next year. The world.
I think most importantly as well, realistically speaking, this has kind of just been a makeshift tournament put together, so there is some football going on. Of course, that is Sunday 3:30 for the LA Derby. I know there's plenty of games going on across pretty much every single day in MLS right now.
Yeah.
If you want in some Premier League action, it's not necessarily Premier League action, but it is the FA Cup, of course. That is in the semi-final stages Saturday, 7:45. Arsenal versus Manchester City. And then on Sunday, Man U v Chelsea. Who do you think is going to win that one, KD? Fantastic.
What a silly question to ask. Who do I think it's going to win? Of course, I think Chelsea are going to win.
Giroud?
Probably will.
Now, it'll be some great games. I think there's a lot of people praying for a Manchester derby to be the final, which I think most people want that, to be honest. Arsenal v Chelsea is still a decent game of football, but
they'll beat us in final. We'll see. They'll beat us in final. We've beaten 3 times. We've beaten 3 times this year. Pep's going to want revenge, and that they'll beat us in final. I can just tell if we get there.
Well, that's the thing. If you get there, of course, Saturday 7:45 is Arsenal City, and United Chelsea is on Sunday at 6:00. And then the other game, which I talked about a little bit earlier ago, that I didn't pick out for this one because not necessarily because it's not a big game, but there is still a little bit of a gap between Juventus and Atalanta in second. Juventus face Lazio Monday night, 9:15. Big game of football. Lazio have lost their last 3 games in a row. They've fallen off a cliff. They're sat down in 4th place in Serie A. Disappointing beginning since the return for them. Of course, Juventus as well, just ploughing along, getting some decent results here and there. So that is the other fixtures across European football you can keep an eye out for in terms of things you can keep an eye out for on this channel. We've got a couple more watch-alongs coming up. I'm going to do a watch-along tomorrow for match day 37 of Liga and also for the final day on Sunday. So you can keep an eye out for that on the YouTube channel. We're not just doing the Liga watch-alongs as well. We're going to do a couple more Premier League watch-alongs in terms of the final day next week. On the 26th, we're going to do a watch-along for that 4 p.m. UK time. Bernaldo, I believe, is joining us for that.
Ooh.
So we might have Bernaldo in the building for that one. So that is on Sunday the 26th. We'll have more information when it comes next week. In terms of looking a little bit further on, Europa League and Champions League is back in August, single leg fixtures. The aim is to do every single Europa League and Champions League as a watch along. There should be 2 streams available at once, so you'll be able to pick which game you kind of want to have a watch along of, but we'll have more information when that comes a little bit further on in August, so you can keep your eyes out on that. But that's in August. We've got something a little bit closer up on Sunday, actually. Rowan.
Yeah. Obviously, 2 weeks ago we had the first Austrian Grand Prix, which was an incredible race. 9 DNFs, shocking podium places, an amazing last lap from Lando Norris. Last week we had a bit more of a bad race. We had Ferrari at the start, then we had Lando Norris again producing an incredible final lap. And then this week we've got the Hungarian Grand Prix. New track in terms of this season. Obviously we've had 2 at Austria. We're now in Hungary. Ferrari have got big troubles with, I'll be talking about all the news with Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel, and then we'll be watching the Grand Prix, which will start around 2:05. So we'll be live at 10:02 there, giving live reactions to that. So come and join us. It's been very fun over the past couple of weeks.
It's been very good so far. Plenty of people in the chat for that. Plenty of people still in the chat in the building right now. Chris has put up the F1. I'm not even going to read out the other comment what I've seen just a moment ago. But there's plenty of other stuff going on as well. It's honestly, if you're watching on Facebook, you'll have no idea what's going on. It's mad in the chat. Somebody keeps making accounts of an explicit nature.
That's why you need to come into the YouTube and subscribe,
exactly.
so you consistently get to see this.
And that's what I just want to say before I talk about the other stuff that have gone on. Big thank you, because we've had a lot of brand new subscribers recently, and a lot of people watching along with the watch-alongs that we've done. Of course, the F1 has gone really well. The Premier League and the Liga ones have gone good. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed, because it's really appreciated. Of course, it's a very tough time right now, and it'll be even tougher for us when football does finish. Kieran L,
Hello.
NFL Corner. Before I say anything about it, when is it this week?
It's going to have to be Friday. I need to tell Will, actually, because he still thinks it's Thursday. But I've got some family stuff that appeared on Thursday, so I'm going to have to move it to Friday instead. But it will be there on Friday, so yay.
There we go. So Friday will be the NFL Corner. I'm doing it the opposite way around this time, because Friday we'll have the NFL Corner. Wednesday, of course, next week we'll have our last episode of the Top Corner in terms of the European leagues. That'll be the last one until September time. But it's not necessarily the end of the podcast in general. Because what we will be doing in the meantime is we'll be doing some Champions League and Europa League stuff over July and August. And then, of course, Tuesday, doing it the opposite way around, we had the Wrestling Corner yesterday. What did you talk about that with you and Simon?
It was the week 2 Electric Boogaloo of the Great American Bash and Fighter Fest. So we had a word about that, but we just previewed Extreme Rules. This next week is going to be a very longer podcast, just because we've got Extreme Rules on a Sunday, we've got Slammiversary on Saturday, we've got Fight for the Fallen on Wednesday, tonight. So yeah, but we're looking forward to Extreme Rules. It's going to be a very strange card with a lot of different type of matches. Slammiversary might have some shocking debuts. So yeah, tune in on Tuesday.
Rowan, we will see a man's eye be pulled from his socket.
We are going to see a man's eye leave his socket. That's the only way he's going to win, if he pulls the eye out of his eye. And where else are you going to get that apart from the World Wrestling Federation? So tune in on Tuesday. Tune in on Tuesday. Me and Simon.
Velveteen Dream might debut as well.
He may do. Me and Simon are going to have some very contrasted opinions on that, I can guarantee you.
No, you just don't get that in any other sport. So
you really
keep your eyes out for the Wrestling Corner on Tuesday, because you will actually be talking about a man's eye being pulled out. It's hard.
By another man. By a masked man, possibly.
I think you know that Kevin Owens was loving it as well, wasn't he?
He absolutely was loving it.
It was great.
He's absolutely loving it. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch WWE, so I literally just searched WWE 2020, saw the first wrestler, and thought, I'm just using a GIF of it.
Whoa, we're not a GIF.
A GIF?
It's a GIF.
It's a GIF.
We're not having that debate on stream. That's where we'll end it. No, thank you. It is a GIF. I said GIF just to see reactions. I'm not gonna lie, but no. Yeah. Thank you very much for everybody watching the podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it today. It's been great to have you all on board. We'll be back next week. No, we can't. We'll be back next week for the next edition of the podcast. Thank you, Rowan. Thank you, KL, and thank you, KD. As always.
Thank you, Josh.
We'll be back. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week, 3 p.m. for the final one of the European leagues.
Are you there?
We'll see you next week. See you later.
See ya. Peace.
Square.